Truth is making a comeback. America's Top Stories with Lisa K. Donner.
There's been endless talk about fake news since the election of Donald J. Trump. But what if the real issue goes much deeper than that? What if the fake news is just a symptom of the real problem? And that is the crumbling relationship that many on the left are having with the truth. We have borne witness to this in recent days with the disintegrating tale woven by TV actor Jussie Smollett, who claims he was assaulted by Trump supporters one night in Chicago. And as the story unravels, it tells an ugly tale of deception and lies. But a bigger question remains. How has the leftist media used one hoax after another to foster hatred and bigotry toward those who support the president? Moreover, are these attacks aimed at Mr. Trump, the so-called deplorables, or both? And has this campaign of falsehoods and deceit been effective in painting the president and his followers as thoroughly racist? I've invited Liberty Nation's chief Washington columnist, Tim Donner. And yes, we're related, and we've been working together for a long time. So Tim is joining us to discuss this topic. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, so you spent a lot of time researching this story to uncover what you believe to be a lengthy pattern of anti-Trump hoaxes that have captured the media attention since the election of Trump. Let's go through a few of these. How about we start with someone by the name of William Tucker?
Well, Mr. Tucker was arrested by Philadelphia police for vandalizing multiple vehicles and homes the day after Trump was elected. He'd had written messages like Trump rules and black BITCH on an African-American woman's car, and also allegedly spray painted Trump's name next to a Nazi swastika on a storefront window. So he didn't take any half measures in making clear what low-life scum he believes that Trump supporters are.
You also mentioned a situation involving Babson College students.
Yeah, there were a couple of students at Babson College who drove through Wellesley College in Massachusetts the night that Trump won. They were celebrating Trump's victory, and other students claimed that those two harassed onlookers and spit and yelled slurs at anti-Trump students, but police found no evidence to support the hate crime claims.
Now let's go to Villanova.
Yes, this was another of the 15 incidents that I've chronicled in the LibertyNation.com story. A black female student at Villanova University, which is in Philadelphia, alleged that after Trump's victory, a group of white men knocked her to the ground as they yelled Trump. The woman later was forced to drop the charges and asked the campus police and local authorities to shut down their investigations when it became obvious that it was a complete hoax.
Is it just me, or do a lot of these hoaxes seem to be happening on college campuses?
Well, a lot of them have happened on college campuses, which is understandable given the neo-Marxist indoctrination that they're getting on campuses and the palpable hatred for Trump and anybody who supports him in academia. There were 15 documented hoaxes altogether, which I chronicled in the story, and many of them were on college campuses. Many of the other ones, by the way, were by Muslim women who claimed that their hijab had been grabbed or vandalized, or that they'd been ridiculed. All of those stories turned out to be completely fabricated.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because when I read your story, I thought the same thing, that there were a lot of Muslim women involved in these hoaxes. But you write in your article, quote, "But since most of these false stories garnered spectacular headlines, they prove that the left's belief in narrative over facts represent a clear and present danger to America. For as it once was said, and is especially true in this global internet age, a lie travels around the globe while the truth is putting on its shoes," unquote. Any final thoughts?
Well, inevitably, the story of this kind of hate crime occurring grabs a lot more headlines than the story saying, well, wait, never mind, it turned out to be a hoax. And what it does, what these 15 at least hoaxes that are meant to demonize Trump supporters, what they do is they set a narrative. And the left has decided that the narrative is more important than facts. See, facts don't matter on the left anymore. It's what the narrative is. And in the hoaxes, all of which drew headlines, as I said, the corrections to it, or the fact that they turned out to be hoaxes, didn't gather nearly as much attention. So it's narrative over facts. And I think what we're seeing is a very, very dangerous and insidious trend, Lisa, which is that in a major part of our political culture, facts no longer matter. Think about the consequences of that.
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up because when I saw your article, I thought often the correction is not nearly as highlighted as the actual story, whether that was true or not.
And the newspaper analogy is that the reported hate crime gets on page A1, and the fact that it's a hoax is listed days later on maybe page A17. So compare the coverage and figure the narrative that the left has built from really before Trump was elected, but they never thought he would actually win. But when he did, how true can the narrative that Trump is truly evil along with his supporters, how true can that be if they're resorting to fabricating stories to undergird the narrative?
Right, but in essence, you bring up a lot of hoaxes that really aren't meant to make Trump look bad. They're meant to make his supporters look bad. So are we dealing with trying to make those who like Trump and believe he's a good president into that basket of deplorables that are so irredeemable?
I think for the first 6 months to a year of the Trump presidency, the leftist elite media focused on Trump himself because I think they believed that somehow, some way they could take him down. Now that it appears evident that they can't do that, what they've done is they've shifted over the last several months or year to demonizing Trump supporters, basically saying that, you don't get a pass if you voted for Trump. You can't say you voted for Trump because you liked his economic policies or whatever, and you overlooked his obviously racist tendencies. No, if you voted for Trump, then you too are a racist, and you cannot escape that. We've seen that assigned particularly to white women. Kirsten Powers went on CNN and said, white women that said, oh, they voted for Trump for some other reason than his social views, who think they can get away with saying they're not racist. No, in fact, they are racist. So they've turned their attention from Trump himself to the basket of deplorables that voted for him.
Well, I've actually written an article on LibertyNation.com about how white women and conservative women are really taking the heat. And I expect them to take even more in 2020. Thanks very much, Tim Donner, LibertyNation.com. Wonderful article, Tim. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Truth is making a comeback. Visit us at LibertyNation.com.